Assemblyman Mike Miller.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to see all of you. First, I want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. Have a beautiful day. If you know somebody that's going to be alone, please invite them. You know, it's always nicer that they're with somebody than alone. I always tell the story about me coming home, you know, on Thanksgiving, and I walk in and there's 3 strangers sitting at my table. That's how my mother was, just inviting people that just needed someplace to be. We have a food drive. It ends on Monday, and we're going to put the food around to a couple different pantries, but we learned that 254 has 11 families that need some help for Thanksgiving. Don't have enough money to buy dinner and stuff, and we've helped them somewhat, so we're going to bring some of the food there. So if you have anything extra, if you can bring it, that would help greatly. Also, the Action Club Christmas party. Every year I have a party for adults with developmental disabilities. This year we're going to have it at the Greater Richard Youth Council on Summerfield Street. Everyone's welcome to come. It's the 12th of December. Starts about 5 o'clock and should be over by 8. As soon as they have dessert, they get up, they leave, they're done. That's nice. I do want to talk about the cameras. You know, the money really does exist. In Goodwill, I put it out almost 2 years ago, maybe a little over 2 years ago, for cameras in the park. We had some issues, and last 3 or 4 months it's been sitting at the Division of Budget, waiting for somebody to push the button and say, okay, let the money go. And we need the cameras, okay? And so we talked about it, my office and I, and some of the other people in the community. If we can get some help. Sherman had a good idea about contacting the governor. I think we're going to roll with it. I don't think it could hurt. I mean, we don't have them now, so, it's either going to work or it's going to, get them ticked off that it gets lost. But at this point, I think it will help us. And if anyone wants to do that, we can get you the information, that would help greatly.
We have that up here.
Oh, you have it?
We have copies of the letter that you can sign.
They're pretty good.
Mail this in to the governor. Let him know. I mean, we're at the point really where there's no reason why this is still sitting there. Money's been allocated. It's there. NYPD's ready for it. They're going to put it where we need it to be put. We've had high-level crimes that's been happening in Forest Park that this could have helped the NYPD solve sooner, maybe deter the crimes from even happening. But yet, for some reason, it's just sitting in Albany. Why? I don't know. It makes no sense. So let's send these letters in. Let's make sure they know we're just like everything else. We said we're not going to let people force things down our throats. We're not going to let people just sit on things that we really need in our community, especially things that are already basically paid for. It makes no sense. So if you can, please make sure to grab one of these that bring up you throughout the whole meeting, and let's send them in.
The money was allocated. It's 2012 money, so the money's there. Okay, it's not like I have to find it. It's sitting there. I also gave money to the police department, each of my precincts to, get vehicles or quads or whatever they need to do better policing. It's sitting in the pile. It's what we have to deal with in Albany, dealing, with the executive floor, but we could use some help, okay? Session's coming up in January. If you guys have any suggestions on any laws that we might be able to put in to help us, in our community, let me know. We'll talk about it. There may already be bills up there waiting, but if not, we'll gladly put them in. Yes, sir.
With regard to zoning, why is it that there are no zoning barriers in certain areas, whereas residential and you have a business, let's say audio installation or an auto body shop, within a residential area where we know it's going to impede the parking? It's going to basically cause chaos because there's going to be double parking all over, and usually they take the cars that they're working on and put them on the street. So, I mean, my question is, in doing my research, I found that basically we're allowing these things to occur in violation of the zoning. So, what is your office and the other elected officials doing in terms of looking at the community as a whole and addressing these issues, which basically impact the quality of our lives?
Okay, so we don't have, on the state level, have the authority to do anything with zoning as far as within the city. The person should address it to would be Community Board 9. They can then bring it and push it for different zoning issues that are locally. I know in different, go ahead.
Yeah, anytime you have a property that's being used and contrary to zoning, you should file a 311 complaint and send the complaint number to the block association and to the community board.
I have done that.
Right, and the Department of Buildings is supposed to enforce it, and many times they just don't.
We have created a litany of complaints with the various preceding or corresponding numbers, complaint numbers. And I would say it's more than probably 120 complaints in the past just 6 months alone. Okay, from various residents within the neighborhood. So my concern is we put out these complaints, these complaints are out there, but they're not being addressed. So, I mean, what is the community to do?
Well, as far as the case that you're talking about now, we have the communication that's been going on for the past week via email with the detailed list and the complaints. And like I said, I'm going to work with CB9, 102 Precinct, and we're going to do what we did to another establishment about a year ago. We're going to sit down, we're going to see what violations are there, and then we're going to make sure that the 102 goes in with the right departments to issue summonses. Vertical Tire Shop, we had the same issue. It was mainly for drag racing and hanging out. So the 102 precinct tried to do the right thing, which was issue warnings. When the warnings didn't work, you get a summons. When that one summons doesn't work, they go back, Department of Buildings, the DEP, and anyone else in the alphabet soup who wants to show up, and you issue summonses. Next thing you know, they were closed down for a few weeks. Drag racing stopped, and as far as I know now, the tire shop is open, but we haven't had any real issues with the drag racing. So again, it has to go back to us taking the information that we're getting from the community, sharing it with all the elected officials, other agencies, to make sure we come together and we say, look, like you said, this has been going on for a year or two. Where's the issue? Where's the gap here that we can't fix this? And then if we see that maybe there's some laws that we may need to change, we'll take that up with the city council, and we'll bring that up and say, hey, what can we do to make sure if you're going to be, spray painting a car or doing whatever, that's done inside. If you're installing a sound system that sounds like a jet engine, that's done somewhere by a commercial area, not a residential area.
Exactly.
So these are things we can look at, and I'll guarantee you we're going to work on it.
Excellent. The reason why I'm bringing that up in terms of zoning is because now we have a building that was purchased, and now it's abandoned. All the permits that they had have already expired. Now we have transient. We have Full Bell down in Brooklyn, and a lot of the transients comes when they come into the neighborhood. Okay. Now we're seeing people coming in and out of this home because it's abandoned. No one's there. The auto shop now is parking their cars inside the parkway, inside the driveway. So it causes concern because then at night, you have the drinking, you have the smoking, you have...
Well, that right there, if you know someone's in there at night, just call into 911. Call that sergeant, let them know, and they'll go when they go in. Next thing you know, we'll send in the Department of Buildings. And they'll go in and they can lock that building. We've had that issue before on another block where people were going in, they were smoking weed, they were hanging out, and that's the action we took. And now if you go, the home, unfortunately, the home is still in foreclosure and it's abandoned, but it's sealed up, and you can't get in anymore. So there are actions that can be taken. We just have to know the proper steps to get there.
Correct. It's not going to be done overnight, but we'll all be glad to work on it together. We've closed up buildings. We've done one in Ozone Park for 2 years. People have lived there. Somebody collected rent. It wasn't the owner. The house was in foreclosure. I'm serious. The house was in foreclosure, and we couldn't get the police department to close it up. because we couldn't get the bank to give us permission, we couldn't get the owner to give us permission to do that. It took 2 years, we finally got it, it's done. Same thing in Woodhaven, same thing happened. We just recently had one in Glendale. It just takes some effort and time, and it'll get done.
We also had one on 98th Street in between Jamaica and Park Lane, and after pursuing, now the house is redone, sold, and it's all new.
You know, that's unfortunate, that when it comes to the foreclosure game, now you're dealing with banks, and that's when it becomes a pain. But as a community, we just have to keep on fighting just to keep people out of the houses.
But
And
these
then we'll-
guys bought it out. They bought out the property, it was bought out. And they is not in foreclosure or anything else, they wanna tear the building down.
But the owner is still responsible to maintain that
Right.
property. So now if we go to DOB and
We'll
we
make
tell
them
them
be
what's
a good
going on,
neighbor.
we'll make it happen, you know, but we just need to know when it's happening, we need to know when they're in that house, get them out, and then send DOB, and then once, for the most part, God, I don't wanna give them a pat on the back, but for the most part, if you make it easy for DOB, they're gonna go in, they're gonna issue summonses, and they're gonna seal it up. You know, and then after they seal it up, they can sit there, we know, for years doing nothing, but, you know, these are the things, the channels that we have to take to see what, you know, what we can do.
You know, I'm not sure, I think I've seen you before, you're talking about the Gran Turismo?
Yeah, by Grand Trace.
Gran Turismo, yeah. Across the street is that mansion, one, looks really nice. But let's talk about around the corner on Atlantic Avenue, where you have the two businesses, the chimichurri places. One looks legit to me, which is the one on the corner, but the one on the side, I mean, it looks like a trailer, Somebody's
two
cooking out of a
garages.
trailer. Two
It's
garages.
two garages.
Is that
and
even
they
legit? I mean,
converted it into business.
And it's connected.
Give us the address.
Give us, yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
Affairs in, we can send bills to
I've had,
everybody.
you know, I've had someone send me information about a backyard, someone doing mechanical work at a backyard on school buses, is it legit?
Right.
I said, I don't know, if you send me the information, you know, I sent it to 102 went in and looked at it, and, all right, the guy may not have a structure, a garage set up, but he was a legitimate business, because his business was on the other side. But these are things, yeah, if you bring them up, we look into, we send it to the right agency, and we'll see.
You gotta give us an opportunity and some time to work on it. We have an issue in Glendale, okay? 6 massage places on Myrtle Avenue. Pop up one right after the other, okay? We've been working on it now for 2 years. Last year, Vice went in, made some arrests at some of the locations, okay? But they still operate. So now we have a new captain in the 104. I went to him and said, look, this is an issue, it's a priority, we're working on it. So he is going out of the box, okay? He went in, I am captain, I won't give the name, you know, we're here, you know, this is our community, we don't like what you're doing here, we're gonna be watching you, and I'm gonna have a police officer posted outside the business, okay? 2 weeks, they'll close.
Wow.
Now they're working on the second one, in the last 3 weeks, they haven't opened up again, okay? And then he'll go to the next one. I wrote to buildings, consumer affairs, health department, anyone you know that we have, it was one other agency, the police commissioner, police department. We have to do something. So buildings went in, issued violations, consumer affairs went in for whatever they can. The fire department, no second means of egress, no sprinklers, no extinguishers. You know, yes, we may be harassing them, but we don't want the business there. It takes time, and we gotta work on it. One other thing, you talked about some other locations about narcotics and stuff. Please give us the information, okay? We have somebody in narcotics in the north. I'm sure they have somebody in the south they can work with. And we'll be glad to, you know, forward it out to them.
But is it harassment, or are we talking about accountability?
It's what harassment?
Huh?
It's what harassment?
In terms of following through, in terms of what you're doing,
Well, we
and what we
closed-
need to do as a community.
We closed two massage parlors,
Exactly.
okay? Was it harassment or was it in the best interest of the
It was,
community?
exactly. And that's my point. I mean, the issue, we're being harassed.
Well, that's my point. That's why we have to work on it, but you gotta give us time to do it and give us the information and we'll get to the proper agencies to do it. We work together. We've always worked together to get things done.
Ben?
Yes, two things. Information seems to be king. Why, is there something on my face? Information seems to be king, and one of the things we find out is about money sitting on a desk that hasn't been approved, and we're also finding out now that there's other ways to approach a system that a captain in the NYPD came up with that other captains or DIs aren't coming up with. There's not a way to share the best practices of what works.
So, I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off.
No, I'm just wondering, is there a way, would it be something that
I'll call you.
someone should set up, like a website or something like that, to share this information? Because if you pass a bunch of legislation where there's money available, we ask now about these cameras, but there's probably a bunch of other stuff that a bunch of other elected officials have just waiting, and
There's
we don't know about it.
68 other elected officials waiting in the same pile for projects they have.
But as the public who are the recipients of that, who we pay our taxes for,
Right.
we don't know that we need to bother people on these things. There isn't a place we can go to look for it to see what the status of this stuff is.
They may have a website where you can go and see. I know Project Sunlight puts all these projects up there so it's public and everyone can see who I'm giving the money to and what they're doing with that. You know, the captain from the 104 came up with an idea. It seems to be working for him. I'm sure when he goes to CompStat, and they go, I think, every week to talk about crime and what they're doing, I'm sure it came up in CompStat. He's happy he was able to do that. I'm sure he's going to let, you know, other colleagues of his know. Again, it's up to each precinct to work on it, manpower the best way they feel they can. He recognized the issue that we had, okay? If it was one, maybe it wouldn't have gotten the attention that 6, you know, have. And it's more, because Fresh Pond Road has a few of them as well. You know, and Seneca area, and so they're out there. It was his way of working on it, and I give him credit for just thinking out of the box and trying to use them. Instead of, so Vice would send people in, okay, try to, you know, whatever, get something going or whatever, you know, at least a talk of it, and then arrest somebody. He's like, I'm just gonna go in and tell them, look, we're gonna be here, and everyone that wants to go in is gonna see us standing here, you know. It seemed to work, so. Okay.
Any other questions?
Did you ask that question?
I don't know if you do.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.